Yeah. Did you find anything good?
Actually,
I haven't been out there.
I got
for a
like
long
2
time.
sweatshirts and stuff, so
Good deal.
sometimes it's not good.
Right, right. Yeah, it's not one.
One day they're just so.
Yeah. I know it's been years and years ago. I'd gone in specifically looking for some stuff and found there was pure ceramic, clay, like outdoor, Easter bunnies that are just, it was like they were of steel.
It's worth talking about.
I know, I need to stop more often. I just don't get in the habit. My office is right there, so I got no excuse. I should. I was looking for ties, because at the time I was, my granddaughter was new silk ties. They have to be silk to tie-dye some
Did you
things.
see that? He poured a concrete slab.
Who?
Tim,
Get out.
I'm not kidding you.
You put blacktop, I don't think it was concrete.
Huh?
You're talking about the house that
No,
that was gonna
no.
be grass?
Huh.
Oh. But the one 2 months ago. the one
Did you
gravel,
see-
He put blacktop.
Yeah, I saw that. I go
Yeah.
out that way all the time because my granddaughter
Yeah,
lives
he
up
did.
that way,
He
and so
did.
I go by there. Well, it's less expensive than the concrete.
Yeah.
I mean, but he still doesn't have the first unit rented, does it?
No.
It didn't look like it when I went by, when I went by there. I don't know. Are we there?
Time.
Yep.
Good evening and welcome to the Warsaw Board of Zoning Appeals, what is this, September 25th meeting. If I have someone to, have you read and someone to approve our minutes, please and thank you. Yes, Bob?
I have read them and I approve them.
Thank you. A second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, Jackson. Any unfinished business? Thank you. Next up, new business. Oh, I guess let me get rid of those. 2023-0901, a special exception for 934 East Fort Wayne Street. Jay Moorhead. Jackson.
Yep, the petitioner is requesting a special exception to allow a home occupation involving welding to be located within an R2 zoning district. The petitioner stated that their hours of operation are typically 5 to 9 p.m. currently, but hope to be 8 to 5 in the future if they see some growth. They typically see 1 to 2 vehicles in the alley a week, but there could also be some growth with that. With available parking along the garage, there would be very little disturbance to the alley and any current traffic patterns. The homeowner will be the only employee. This home occupation will have a low impact on traffic, little to no noise, and no other noticeable disturbances to the neighborhood. Based on the findings of fact, it is the opinion of the planning department that this variance should be ruled favorably at 934 East Fort Wayne Street.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any questions for Jackson before I open it up?
It's all gonna be indoors with closed doors, right? Okay.
Okay. Would the petitioner, Jay Moorhead, are you here? Would you like to stand up and state your cause for us, please? Yes, please, and state your name for us. And sometimes you have to kind of speak loudly into those microphones.
Okay. My name is Jay Moorhead.
Get up close.
Yeah.
My name
thank
is
you.
Jay Moorhead.
Thank you.
That good? Thank you for considering this. I appreciate it.
Do you have any comments to say on behalf of yourself?
I don't. Everything was correct that he said as far
Okay.
as the hours of operation right now. Everything is indoors. I wouldn't be doing anything out in the driveway, anything like that. It's TIG welding, so it doesn't produce the smoke, the fire, the sparks like other welding does. So, yeah.
Gentlemen, any questions of him?
No.
Thank you. Do I have anyone here
Thank you.
in the audience to speak against this proposal? Anyone else to speak in favor of it? And with that, I will close it out here to the floor. Any other comments, concerns, questions?
Just that we have these two,
We do have 2 letters, you're right,
Two
thank you.
letters,
Yeah, we have 2 letters voicing favor, in opinion of, or in favor of support of you. So that was nice to hear your neighbors, thank you. Great comments,
Yes,
by the way,
very
too.
good.
Very nice comments from your neighbors. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion, we approve it.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, appreciate it. Good luck with your business. Next up, 2023-0902, a use variance at 1310 East Clark Street, Van Ness and McConnell.
The petitioner has requested a use variance to permit a pet grooming business in a R2 residential zoning district. This district allows home-based businesses with the conditions provided in section 12.4.5.p. In this case, the petitioner does not live at the property. The parcel is surrounded by residential properties. Planned hours of operation are 7 to 5, Tuesday through Saturday, with an expected 5 to 7 customers per day. The entrance and parking are located along the alley. On the south end of the property, there will be no overnight boarding of animals. In the future, this variance can be revoked if issues arise such as noises, parking problems, but for now, this case presents well and has no outstanding issues. Based on the findings of fact, it is the opinion of the planning department that this variance should be ruled favorably at 1310 East Clark Street.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions of Jackson before I open this up? Is the petitioner here to speak on your behalf? Anyone on this one?
Katrina,
Okay.
she's not here?
Do I have anyone here to speak in opposition of this? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name one at a time. State your name, come forward to the podium and state your name.
Mary LaFountain, and I live at 1219 East Clark,
Okay.
which I'm not adjacent, but the house right across at 1226, they have little kids that play in the backyard. That alley goes east and west. Is there a speed limit? I mean, 5 to 7 cars a day, that's a lot of cars up and down that alley. And then what happens if they want to board dogs? Is this just for grooming only?
Correct.
Correct. No
Okay.
boarding.
They will not be boarding any dogs.
Okay, does the house need to be inspected just for the grooming business itself?
I think currently they're actually redoing the inside. Is that correct, Justin? Do you know that? They are? Someone knows back there.
Yeah, I believe they're just doing a little remodel for the business.
Yeah, I don't think there's any inspection for specifically pet grooming, though.
Okay, because I know there has been drug activity in that house before, and the windows have been blown out. So, I mean, I don't know about anybody else's pets, but I'd think twice if it hadn't been inspected and passed to code. So, those are my concerns. Is the amount of cars and the kids are in the block.
Thank you. Anyone else, ma'am?
Hello, Julie Klein. My daughter and son-in-law live directly across the street at 1315 East, Fort Wayne Street. They are currently doing the dog grooming now. Cars do block that alley. The dogs that are arriving are not on leashes, and they're in my daughter and son-in-law's yard. My daughter, they do have dogs. It is a fenced-in yard, but there is a little bit of a disturbance when other dogs are up against their fence. So those were just her concerns.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Any questions now, gentlemen?
How does that affect the
What'd she say?
recommendation?
Did she say they're doing the dog grooming?
They're currently doing, and they don't have the dogs on leashes.
They don't have a dog run?
There's no, I went by there. I'm pretty sure there's no fence back there in that backyard, is there? No.
And the dogs jumping out of the vehicles are not on leashes as owners are coming to drop off their dogs. And on the east side of that house, if it rains, that's.
Hold on. If we're going to talk, we got to come up to the microphone, and because we got to keep minutes of who's saying what. So you're welcome to come and say whatever you want. We just can't have general banter from the crowd. So if you want to say something, come up and repeat it at the microphone so that we know who said it and what was said. If you would, please.
Okay, Mary LaFountain. I do know on the east side of the house, when it rains, that is all swamp area. So I don't know where they're going to let their dogs if they need to do their business before they come and go, because it is blacktop out before you enter. Then on the other side, there's no way unless you do it to the neighbor's yard.
We did have one letter sent to us too from an adjacent property owner, not in favor of this petition. Any other comments, gentlemen? Any other comments, either yay or nay, from audience members? Jackson, do you have anything further to add? You think with that, we
The
can close?
person that is the petitioner isn't here. Is that
Correct.
correct?
That's not good. I don't like that.
I'm gonna make a motion
Thank you,
that we deny this request.
thank you.
Basically based on the petitioner is not here to give us maybe a little more information on why.
Right.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we deny this request.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion denied. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Next up, 2023-0903, a use variance at 1910 East Clark Street. Joel Poppenfuss. Jackson?
Yep, the petitioner has requested a use variance to permit a beauty shop in an attached portion in the rear of the home in an R1 zoning district. This district does not allow home-based businesses with the conditions provided. The occupation will be accessible from the front of the house by a sidewalk around the east side of the garage. There are pictures attached. The petitioner will be living at the home and will have no other employees. Since the petitioner has a large driveway, parking and anything like that will not be an issue and traffic is not a concern. Based on the findings of fact, there is an opinion, it is the opinion of the planning department that this variance should be ruled favorably at 1910 East Clark.
Thank you. Board members, any questions before I open it up? Joel, would you like to come up and plead your case for your wife, or is your wife going to do the speaking? She's willing to speak. Thank you. Jessica, say your name, please.
Jessica Poppenfuss.
Thank you. What do you have to tell us, please?
And I didn't put like the hours that on there at all, but it would only be 3 to 4 days a week, some Saturdays, 6 to 8 hours a day. And sometimes you can see no clients in there. It sometimes depends on how it's all scheduled out, but those would be the hours, times, days.
Any questions for Jessica? So you're really only going to be seeing like, what, 5 or 6, 7 clients a day? Is that
Yeah.
the hours that you're
Yeah.
there? Okay.
Yeah, maybe sometimes even just like 2, because depending on the services provided that day, it might be less than that.
No questions? Okay, thank you, Jessica.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome. Thank you.
Do I have anyone in the audience here to speak in favor of this petition other than Miss Jessica? What about in opposition of this petition? With that, I will close it. Further comments? Or can I have a motion, please, gentlemen?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you and good luck. My grandparents built the house right across the street from you. The little ranch right there. Yeah, I grew up there and spent a lot of time in your house because I knew the Besses that lived there at one time. Yeah. Yeah, spent a lot of time there.
Telling stories.
I know, sorry. Okay, I digress. Okay, on. 2023-0904 Development Standards 505 South Colfax Street, Cardinal Services. Jackson?
The petitioner has requested a variance from development standards to allow a parking lot and detention pond in an R1 zoning district. The proposed parking lot and detention pond will be a new addition to the existing Cardinal Services property with landscape buffers for neighboring properties. Both of these will be located in the southwest kind of corner of the Cardinal Services facility. Based on the finding of fact, it is the opinion of the planning department that this variance should be ruled favorably at 505 South Colfax Street.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions before we open it up? Is someone from the Cardinal Center here to speak in favor of your case, please? State your name, please.
My name is Megan Carr. I'm with G&G Hauling and Excavating. I am the engineer on the design of this project, of the site plan, and wanted to bring this variance request. Basically, they are doing a current expansion, kind of phase one. They've started already moving the dock around to the other side and doing a new Opportunity Lab expansion. And in that, they are going to redo the curb appeal of the building and add greenscape. So the east side, currently the parking is very, very steep as it goes down to North Bay Drive. It's kind of like double parking, and it's like you back out into the street as you pull out. So we are improving the east side. There will be an entrance drive and one exit out, so the parking will be separated from the street and will be flatter and more accessible to those getting in and out of the car. So in improving that east side and doing that, they're losing some parking spaces over there. So therefore, we wanted to expand the parking lot on the southwest side to help recover those parking spots, and then also make room for a detention infiltration pond, so the stormwater from this expansion will be collected and stored and will infiltrate down into the groundwater in that area, and any overflow would go to the street. Currently, all the water on those parking lots just goes to the street. So on both sides, we're providing detention on the one side, and on the east side, we're actually slowing it down and filtering it through the landscape beds that are going to be added over there. So we're overall improving the drainage and the curb appeal and ADA compliant parking spots. They're adding canopies for their clients to be dropped off at the main entrance and the west entrance. Both canopies are being added too. So an overall parking lot improvement system.
Should be a nice improvement. Any questions? Thank you. Do I have anyone else in favor, to speak in favor of this petition in the audience? How about in opposition? You need to step up to the podium and state your name.
My name is Jeff Owens. I'm a neighbor of the subject property at 504 South Colfax Street. I am not speaking in opposition. I am somewhat speaking in favor, but there are some questions and concerns that have not been addressed to the neighborhood. And this is really the last opportunity to create a resolution to some of these concerns. I did ask Jackson earlier today why why an exception instead of a rezoning on this lot. It is a residential lot used for parking. I can appreciate the fact that we want to lock it down as that being the only use. But with that being said, there was another option on across the street that's zone C2, and none of this is actually necessary if that lot was used for parking. So that's a question, is what got us to this point. The detention area did help a little bit. I could not determine from the drawings whether or not there was an overflow or if there was guidance of any water gathered there. According to her talk, it is for percolation only. So whatever it gathers, it's going to leach into the ground. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, there is an emergency spillway.
Okay, the spillway is located where, and where does it go?
Do I need to come up and?
Please do.
I was gonna say. And I got other plans too, so I'd be happy to show you. All right, this is Megan Carr with G&G again. The emergency spillway is located on the northwest corner of the pond, along the west side, along Colfax Street. This site plan for variance. that was-
Megan, why don't we do this? Why don't we have you and Mr. Owens both come up here to
And look at it.
the front so everybody can see what you're showing them.
Okay, I can do that.
They can step up right here in front of Dan, and then the people who need to see it can see it.
I can do that.
So is this what you're talking about?
No, so this is the site plans that was submitted for the variance. Then the set of plans behind it are the actual construction plans that were submitted for city tech review approval. And that shows like the demolition plan of like the, what's, you know, the curbing and stuff that's getting removed
Sure.
to add expansion. And so therefore, this layout, I think the utility plan maybe has it the best. All right, so there we go. So there's that same pond that was shown on that first one,
Right.
but this one shows an emergency pond overflow weir, and it shows the detail of like all the elevations of that. So the water will run off the parking lot through 2 different chutes
Yeah.
in, and then it's sized to hold the 100-year storm, and it'll percolate down. I think within 10 hours, it should be empty again. Pretty good sandy soils in there. We had a soil evaluation. And then if by some chance they have more than a 100-year storm and it wouldn't percolate down or something, then this overflow would overflow and it would get to the street. It would not head south, it would head west, which is where all the current water goes anyways.
With that said, again, Jeff Owens, that spillway in this area is currently lower than street level as it is. If there are no gutters or curbs on this street, so there is no guarantee that any spillway goes across the crown of the road. It most likely would continue on to the south, headed for the lake and across other people's property.
That is being built up. That whole area is being raised up. So this has got contours on it, the existing proposed contours. I don't know how familiar you are, but the top of the pond will be at 828. The existing ground is at 822. So it will be spilling over an elevation of 827.5, and the road is at 827 here and 828 here. So it will go onto the road before it heads down to this lower stuff.
No, it won't come over the crown, Jeff.
Well,
It'll
if
just
it
keep
does,
going down this way.
well, if it does go down that way, there's a neighbor here who has a basement and a garage, a basement next to this property, and
Right.
that's going to funnel right in there because you're raising this up, but currently their north land elevation, you show it right here, 823 is his.
Currently, the water right now does run down this way and comes
Right.
in behind the garage, kind of through
Right, so it
821.
this does provide a solution for them, but the spillway doesn't really, if it's needed, it creates a problem for, well, if it does breach the top, it's gonna create a problem with this neighbor, you're gonna put it onto this neighbor, and you're gonna put it onto this neighbor.
Yeah, I mean, the 100-year storm is what the design standards are for
Right.
our development standards, that that's all we are required to detain, and then provide that emergency spillway. So if the pond is maintained appropriately, the infiltration, it's actually really good soil down there. We use the infiltration rate from the soil scientists, so theoretically, you should not ever have an overflow, but that's why it's in there. If we were required to put an emergency spillway, if we get a freak flood, then, it would have a way to get out and around.
Has anybody talked to Randy and Ruth?
I know Cardinal Services had reached out, had talked to some of them, and I know they had talked to Jeff too ahead of time as well about some things. They sent the site plan to the neighbors in addition to the official notification. So she could maybe speak a little more on that than I, but I know they have been in contact with some of them. But I think you're the only one I knew of that had said something.
Megan, I have a question. If it's left as it is, will that be better or worse for, I guess, that neighbor or just the area in general?
Like without expanding the parking lot?
Yeah, I mean, the detention pond and all
Right.
of that.
Yeah, I mean, by collecting the water and slowing it down, we're potentially taking less off that's currently going in that direction now. But, so,
I would agree, if you are putting the parking lot there, that detention pond has to be there in protection of the neighbor. So I would agree that there is a greater level of protection, but the spillway doesn't really solve the problem. We're just going to.
Yeah, but that's 100 years.
100 years.
Come on.
I'm just saying,
Right.
it doesn't.
and typically on some of these ponds, you can put outlets to storm sewers and stuff, but there's no curbing,
There's no
there's
storm
there's
sewer.
no anything
nothing
until
right
you get
there.
down to the lake.
Right.
So, and currently it just runs down the road. So the spillway would do the same thing that the water currently does, but the rest of the water, normal rains, will be collected and taken care of.
So I'm happy with her answer, I'm just saying it remains a concern. And I do agree that this plan is better than what is there now.
I like that retention pond.
Yeah, I do
That's
too.
that's a good thing.
Agreed.
Any other questions about the technical aspects while you're up there, Mr. Owens? Or should we move on?
Yes, they somewhat are related to this diagram, but, so on the actual, the concern I have as an individual property owner is this particular driveway access directly lines up with my living room windows.
Headlights.
Headlights. Now, 6 months out of the year, we're daylight, it's not that big of a deal, but beginning this time of year, it's dark at 7, people arrive. This was a concern that was brought up way back when Matt Bourne introduced it to Vicki and myself. It was a problem or a concern that was asked about with Vicki Luton's, but as we look at this plan, it still exists. The other part of this is we're adding 23 additional spaces here, and all of those spaces do come out onto Colfax where it's more residential up here that people slide in, coming in off of commercial spot. So my concern is simply, this is a personal concern, is the headlights and the ambient light right into the living room as this lines up.
I'll speak really briefly on it, and then you can reply as well. So we did add landscape islands with screening where the driveways weren't on that west side to provide screening from the residential as required. His headlights, as he's pointing out, that one drive lane does face towards there. A suggestion that I think Cardinal Services was receptive to working with you on was maybe take that screening that's recommended for, and put it on his side of the street along his property to help block there, since it's a driveway and we can't put a landscape island.
okay with you?
with
Yeah,
the
with
driveways.
that,
I'm okay
Pass it
with
by.
that, but as it was presented, it wasn't really made clear at whose expense. So that,
Well, if they do it, it'd be at their expense, not yours.
we just said that out loud, so that's why.
Okay.
I don't think he's got confirmation. That was a suggestion from me to Cardinal Services from a design standpoint.
Okay.
And then I think they were needing to work through that.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Vicki Lutens. I'm the executive director at Cardinal Services. Jeff did reach out to me last week and made me aware of his concerns with the headlights. And we are definitely willing to, once the project is done, to see, not completely done, but when the parking lot is done, to entertain a screening, landscape screening on his property, if that will help. So we definitely want to work with him. In the past, we have worked with other neighbors on different projects of moving lights and other things to ensure that the residents were not being disturbed. So we definitely will work with him. And we did send out a letter per the recommendations of G&G to all neighbors of this project.
thank you, thank you.
Good.
And then the last item, if I may, on this, and you can see it from the other elevation, and I'm going to preface this by stating, I know this isn't a direct purview of this board, but since we are bartering for an exception to a residential area, and this is really the last time that it can be resolved. When Cardinal Services bought this property and tore down the house, and when they tore down the rental across the street on the corner of Colfax and Smith, they left existing two,
That's not why we're here.
what?
That's not why we're here.
But they, per Cardinal Services CEO in 2016, they agreed that they would cap these wells in accordance with DNR, but they wanted to keep them for future use. And it's obviously here tonight, they are not using them in the future. I would propose, I can work with the parking, I can work with everything else, but for the neighborhood, which has more than 20 houses that are on wells on the same aquifer.
I get that, but that's something you need to take up with Cardinal Center.
They're asking for an exception as a neighbor.
Well, they're asking for a variance, Mr.
Variance.
Owens, so, and we don't
But I-
barter at the BZA
Yeah.
for
That's
variances.
not why we're here.
We did, if I can reply really quick, we did reply back to that comment. The well that is on this property, the one across the street, that property is not being touched or asked for it right now. So this, on this property, this well on the demolition plan, it says abandoned well. And we replied back to you, it will be done according with the certified well installer. They'll be abandoning it properly and capping it properly. So you should not have any concerns with
I
that.
have not received that.
Oh, I replied back to Cardinal on those answers.
She gave me an answer this morning, but nothing was said about the well in that answer. So the well will be capped.
Well, the
Yeah.
well's not pertinent to this
Right,
request for a
exactly.
variance regardless. so.
It'll be done according, we do our things according to the rules of the state,
Thank you.
what's
Yeah,
required.
that's
So-
good.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have any other comments, questions from the audience? Gentlemen?
I make a motion, we approve
Well, I
it.
was going to say with that, I'm going to close it to the public, and do I have a motion to approve this?
Yes.
Or do whatever we want to do with it?
Approve it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any outstanding
Unfinished business.
unfinished?
So I had one thing.
Yes, sir?
So I think Jackson did a really good
nice
job.
job.
I mean, he's maybe no Justin Taylor, but he did an exceptionally good job tonight. Wouldn't you agree?
He did
I
a
think-
good job.
He did a great
Yes,
I think
thank
he
you,
did a good
Jackson.
job.
We're really
with-
happy to have him.
With the people
Thank you.
who've he's dealt with so far. So
And he's got a
I've heard
smile on
nothing
his
but good
Yeah.
things, Jackson.
Well,
so
thanks.
Yeah.
and sometimes, and I've said this a lot, this is the worst of the boards to be involved with. The BZA is the worst. So
Thank you for your support.
good luck for surviving your first night here, and I think you did a very good job.
If we have no other business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. All in favor? Motion
Aye.
carried at 7:30. What did someone say, 20 minutes?
I said 20.
Okay, so I'm off 10 minutes.
Justin did a good job training him.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
So